What's up to Lion Talk Live? So we love you too, buddy.
What's going on, guys? It is Aiden Hutchinson.
What's up, man? It's your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
What's up, everybody? It's Calvin Johnson Jr. here, a.k.a. Megatron, a.k.a. First Ballot.
What's going on, Coach Dan at Lions Talk Live and the Duke Crew? This is Ball Hawk Ifata Melifonwu of the Detroit Lions. Everybody make sure you help support the YouTube channel Lions Talk Live by clicking that like and subscribe button. Let's get it and go Detroit.
Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Dan Skipper, offensive weapon for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you all help support Lions Talk Live and Coach Dan by clicking on that like and subscribe button. Everybody, woo!
I love nothing more than watching Lions Talk Live every morning. Woo!
Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton, and I want to thank you all for joining us here today, Monday. Hey, it is just days before the Lions and the Green Bay Packers face again in what's looking like potentially one of the bigger key battles facing the Detroit Lions organization in perhaps recent years. As you all know, last night or yesterday, the Philadelphia Eagles nor the Minnesota Vikings lost, so the Lions are still the number one seed. But obviously, they got both teams on their heels for that chase, that race to get the first round bye in the playoffs, and yes, have home field advantage throughout the NFC playoff picture. We're going to dive into all that, as you guys can probably tell from the thumbnail for today's video. So once yesterday, excuse me, as you guys know, I'm dealing with a cold, so I apologize if this isn't going to be my best performance today. But as you guys know, Jamal Adams was signed yesterday by the Detroit Lions. I reached out to a lot of people that I know in Detroit media, asking if they knew anything about it, and so far, everybody said no. But they also did say that they were aware the Lions tried to get a couple different people who signed with other teams prior to that situation, and I had two different people confirm from their sources they believe the Detroit Lions, and what they're being told from Brad Holmes is that him and the Detroit Lions organization are still trying to add one more player to this team. Who is it? That's the big question. Nobody seems to have a firm answer. We're going to dive into that and the speculations because we've developed a bit of a list who I think it could be, but we'll get into that during the main topic of the day. Excuse me. All right, before we get into the main topic of the day, though, let's get into 5 headlines now and everything. But before we do, if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. We're making that march for 11,500, and I want to say we're 30 subs away. Also, if you would be so kind, reach on down, hit that thumbs up button, that like button. Helps channel out a lot, as you probably do know. And last but never least, in case you are considering buying or selling property anywhere in the great state of Michigan, you can give me a call or shoot me a text. You now see the number on the screen, 269-998-2384. Let's have a conversation, see what I can do to save you some money. Make sure your lender isn't overcharging you, etc. Make sure you don't step on any landmines while buying that commercial property, vacant land, or new home for you and the fam. Well, give me a call, shoot me a text. You see the number on the screen. Again, it's 269-998-2384. All right, with all that said, let's go ahead and get into the first topic of the day, and that is, as you know, 5 headlines now. So let's get it going. All right, 5 headlines now. Let's get this on the screen. And again, sorry, guys, if my voice isn't the best today. All right, Detroit Lions coach Dan Campbell explains why Jahmyr Gibbs barely touched ball in second half. Story by Dave Burkett, Joy Free Press. You know, probably most of us were watching it, the game on Thursday, were a little surprised that Gibbs was almost a non-factor in the second half. There was a lot of speculation. Was he hurt? You know, was it this? Was it that? Campbell does come out and just says, quote, I think it was more we kind of cycled those running backs, and David Montgomery was kind of in the rotation. And then we just didn't get a lot of plays, Campbell said. Now, continuing the quote, we had 2 of those drives that were stall outs. And so it just didn't quite work out that way, really. So according to Campbell, there wasn't any real specific reason why Gibbs didn't touch the ball more in that second half. I think most of us were, again, surprised by it. But at least if you take Campbell at his word, It wasn't anything intentionally done. It just kind of was because of the result of the offense not being on the field as much as they could have, perhaps. All right. Second of the 5 headlines now. Keon Alexander, quote, ready to go, quote, go to war, end quote, for Dan Campbell, Aaron Glenn. This is from SI.com, story by Christian Bohr. Hey, we get it. Lions have added a lot of pieces to their team in recent days. Some of it, obviously, because of this injury situation on the defensive side of the ball. But make no mistake about it. Some of these guys got some real talent. The fact that you've been able to get a Long Jr., somebody who's been a captain, played at a high level, and so far in his time with the Lions, looks like he's going to continue that trend of playing at a high level. Alexander, I think, is going to be an interesting part for this team. If he's got any gas left in his tank, which I think we all agree, the Lions wouldn't bring him in if they didn't feel like he did have that gas in the tank. He's got a skill set similar to Long. He can slide around sideline to sideline, and he can fire lanes. Between his addition and other people's, I think this Lions defense, might be able to hold down the fort until some of the walking wounded get back. But Alexander sounds like he's all in on what the Lions have done culturally, what they've done schematically. He likes what he sees, and he's ready to jump on board and help out this team get some wins. Lions signed 3-time Pro Bowler safety, story by Rory Parks, Pro Football Rumors. We all get it. I got the news over to you guys as soon as it hit yesterday. Yes, Adams was added, the 3-time Pro Bowler, to the Detroit Lions. Is he going to play linebacker? Is he going to play safety? That, I think, is going to be one of the bigger speculations for us across the board. When the Lions PR department first reported it officially through their sources, they put linebacker next to his name. Minutes later, they took that down, and then they reposted as safety. So it's my guess, and I know we talked about it during the video yesterday. We've been talking about it for weeks. I thought the Lions were going to start going to more 3 safety sets just because the flexibility it gives Aaron Glenn in coverage, shooting gaps and blitzing, but also just out of attrition. Lions have some real good depth at the safety position, and now adding Adams to it, man, that depth just gets even better if you want to ask me. All right, let me go ahead and get over to the next one of the 5 headlines now. Detroit Lions Taylor Decker, left tackle Taylor Decker, Status versus Green Bay Packers will, quote, come down to the wire, end quote. Story by Dave Burkett of the Detroit Free Press. And MCDC during the presser yesterday, yes, normally he doesn't do pressers on Sundays, but you know what? Normally you don't play on Thursdays. So the team are going through the process of getting everybody caught up to speed, some of these new players, getting the team all ready. Yes, there's been an issue to some degree about the play calls and what was shown on social media. All that's in play right now. The team's going to have to overcome the challenge and go on from there. Only thing I'll say about the play sheet, just on a side note, most teams, I mean, I don't care if it's, high school football, college footballs, they go over a ton of your film. They know most of this information. They have people, they pay them to break down the plays and listen to the play calls. So when it's called out on the field, they probably got a pretty good idea. Maybe not to the T, but they've got a pretty good idea. But when it comes to Taylor Decker, Dan Skipper filled in pretty dang well last week. I think, Decker's going to go this week. He knows the importance of the game. Really, unless he's just physically unable to go, my anticipation is Taylor Decker's going to be out on the field. But if not, Dan Skipper did not do horribly last week. I didn't think, at least. All right, last the 5 headlines now. How Lions plan to handle defensive injuries. A story by Vito Chirico to Sports Illustrated. And he talks about basically what you guys would expect. They're going to cycle in these new players. They're going to use Trevor Nowaski, Ben Neiman, all of the linebacker core. They're going to have those guys ready to go. He does suggest, he thinks, Alaquin Muhammad is going to be the starting end opposite Zadarius Smith. Would make sense to me. He plays the run. He can drop into coverage, as we're probably all aware. He does give you a lot of flexibility there at the opposite end. So will the Lions overcome the injury bug? If they can get through this Thursday's game, get the win, survive that, no new injuries, no real big ones, then you know what? They got 5 days off before they return and spend 5 days getting ready for the Buffalo Bills. I think it is very possible they survive this injury bug, because after the Buffalo Bills game, I think Pascal is either back for that game or right abouts there. If not that week, then the following week. Same with Levi Onwuzurike. And from there, you're just a couple weeks away from getting Alex Anzalone back, maybe other players as well. So let's hope we can do it and get on over to it. All right, let's go ahead and get over to we're going to have a special guest at the bottom of the hour. So let's go ahead and get over to the main topic today. I know I'm trying to rush through this a little bit, guys, but trying to fit in a lot of stuff this morning. All right, main topic of the day, as you can see from the thumbnail for today's show, Lions are allegedly not done shopping yet. They're trying to sign some other players. The question really does come down to who could it be? Now, if you were going around and checking things out, Lions, they probably have a need at defensive end. And yes, they've made some calls. They did lose out, I'm told. Well, they did try to get Shaq Leonard, but they obviously signed with the Philadelphia Eagles. They were in negotiations with him. He's not the only one. Apparently, Deion Jones was also somebody they were trying to reach out to. So it leaves the real question. If they're still out there kicking the tires on people, who could it be? I know some people are going to say Isaiah Buggs. I don't think that's going to happen. I think his time here, maybe even in the NFL, has come to pass. Frank Clark, if you guys remember him, probably another someone who has a high ability level, but because of off-the-field issues, I don't think he's going to be in play for the Detroit Lions. He doesn't sound like somebody that the Lions would go after. Now, when I was told that they wouldn't give up the names of their list, when I talked to a couple different people, I was trying to find out, obviously, as much information as possible. The surprise thing to me, the one guy that would talk was that it would be in the secondary. And I was like, wow, who would it be? Because you just added Jamal Adams. And they said, yeah, they think the Lions are still going for a couple of guys in the secondary. Names that came up were Xavier Howard and Patrick Peterson, which I was like, man, are either one of those even options? So I don't know the full situation there, but two of the other guys did say that the Lions, in their opinion, are still going after defensive line help. And, just let the speculation bug fly around. Who could it be? I know everybody and their mother is going to jump on, hey, could it be Ndamukong Suh coming back to Detroit? It is possible. Suh, as we talked about yesterday, did come out and say recently he would sign with a team. He would sign with a team he felt had a real good shot at the Super Bowl and make a deep run of the playoffs. He also came out and stated he was not interested in starting right now. He'd like to wait another week or two until there's only a couple weeks left in the regular season. Could it be the Detroit Lions and Suh, a reunion? Totally possible. I know Trump's a genius. Among other people in the chat will probably jump on and say, man, this is it. We're getting J.J. Watt. I cannot confirm that, and I personally don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Watt's coming out of the booth. I don't think he's interested in that. But is he a former Pro Bowl player? Yes, he is. Does he fit the bill? Yes. If you guys got some thoughts on who it could be, by all means, throw it in the comments section. I can't see us going in for anybody that's available on the offensive side unless it would be somebody on the offensive line. And maybe if you really thought Frank Ragnow, not Frank Ragnow, Graham Glasgow isn't performing well. But if you look at the Lions' situation at the offensive line, especially with their younger players, I just don't think they would go out and get a free agent. I think if you look at Christian Mahogany, he's performing clearly at a high level. Could it be high enough to even start him or play him high minutes or snaps, I should say? It is possible, I guess. Giovanni Manu, maybe. Then obviously we have Kobe Scoresdale. So I don't think it'd be the offensive side of the ball. I just don't think there's anybody from a wide receiver standpoint that at this point you're going to be looking to add. The team just seems too sound there. I know a lot of people are going to say Daniel Jones, and it was reported that the Lions had spoken to Daniel Jones. I get that, maybe trying to add a veteran quarterback. So I guess that comes up to mind. If the Lions really want to sign a veteran quarterback, is there one out there that you would say, hey, we're playing them over Hendon Hooker at this point in the season? This is all speculation because I can't get confirmations from anybody who the player is, or players, I guess it could be they're in contract negotiations with. But for those just joining, it does sound like Brad Holmes made a move to try to get Rasheem Green. It was one of them, I was told. Obviously, he's with the Jags, so that's not going to happen. Shaq Leonard was another one as well, so amongst other players. So who's still out there, in your opinion, that could come on in and help? And, hey, don't say Lawrence Taylor. Don't say, Deion Sanders. We all know that's not happening. Come on, guys. Be serious about it. But, have fun with it if you want. But I've been working on this, and again, I'm not feeling the greatest, so I did not get up as early as I normally do and try to bug everybody. I did what I could for about a half hour or so when I got up this morning. But, man, let me tell you, this chest cold is getting a little gnarly. All right, let's go over to you guys, Do Crew, see what you guys have to say. Do you want them to add anybody else? I guess that's a question we should ask, too. Do you think we're good to go with where we're at, or do you think we still need to add somebody? I've already said my opinion on Adams. He's probably playing more linebacker than he is safety. My opinion on him, can he cover most tight ends? Yes. Can he cover most running backs? Yes. Are you going to have him match up with wide receivers? Probably not. But as a linebacker, I think his faults become less noticeable as a true safety in the NFL. While he's in his day, he was pretty dang good. Nowadays, I think he is good, but in different roles. So, all right, let's go over to you guys, Duke Crew. And again, apologize for my voice and such. I'm trying to do what I can here. So, all right. Let me scroll to the top of the screen, and then we got Hutch Jr. joining us roughly at the bottom of the hour. Michael D, greetings and salutations, Coach of Duke Crew, exclamation points, Superdome, Super Bowl, One Pride, woo, woo, and good morning to you too. JDC, morning all. Jason, what up, crew? Question mark. Superdome or bust is on my mind no matter how we get there. 100% there. 100%, and I agree. Just get there and get it done. 70, good morning, boys. Exclamation point. Ugh, Mini in Philly. Both just did not lose. No, they didn't. They refused to lose. And I know in regards to the Cards game, man, I don't know, man. There's so many different ways you could Scooby-Doo the ending of that game, just saying, hey, you should have went for the touchdown. Or, man, could you have any kind of plan with whatever it was, a minute and 30 seconds and 3 timeouts? To me, they looked like they had no idea what they were doing against Minnesota's defense. But give Minnesota credit. They found a way to win. Philly, Lamar Jackson, he did not look like he had any clues out there, and he did not look like the Lamar Jackson of a year or two ago. He looked confused, and I'll give Philadelphia a lot of credit for that. They came out with coverage that just seemed to have his call. And I get everybody's going to talk about Justin Tucker missing, wasn't an extra point, 2 or 3 field goals. He is not what he once was. Clark, hey, Coach and Duke Crew, I think the Vikings drop a game or 2 before playing us. I would agree. Looking at their schedule and how they're playing, I mean, they could win out, totally possible. But they do have a challenging schedule down the stretch. Not sure about the Eagles. They might win out. I hate saying it, but I think the only team left on their schedule that I could see really putting up a fight against Philadelphia is Pittsburgh. And if Pittsburgh can't beat them, you know what? If you're the Lions, you better not lose more than one more game. See, Michael, Philly looked pretty good yesterday. Yes, they did. Mike the Ring Gunny, howdy, Dan and Dooku. May I get a triple woo? You want a triple woo? You know, my voice probably is okay with it. So let's give you a 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I may have to do a few more of those today and tomorrow just to help get me through this cold. Big Eddie, greetings, salutations. Philly is tough. They might drop one more game, and that's a maybe since their schedule is pretty light the rest of the way. Yeah, it's not hard by any stretch of the imagination down the stretch here. Hookadoo, I wasn't a happy camper about that either, Stephanie. Yeah, I think about everybody was pretty bummed out. We were hoping, I have to imagine just about everybody in the fan base was hoping one team would lose, but the fact neither one did is what it is. You still have 1 game lead. Answer 14. Good morning, Coach and Duke Crew. Lions dominate and take down Green Bay 34-20. I'll take that. Steve, good morning to Coach Dan and the Duke Crew. Exclamation point. Can we expect Broderick Martin to be in the rotation on the Thursday night game? I think so. I think you will see him out there. And what capacity, how many snaps, that I don't know. I think he could play end and defensive tackle. My anticipation is they're probably going to limit him to just backing up DJ Reader and Ali McNeil in the DTI positions. All right, Trey. So we added Adams yesterday, and you're saying we could add someone else on top of that, Coach. Correct. Yep, Trey. And I can't say who because I don't know who. And let everybody speculate about who it is. Your guess is as good as mine at this point because everybody who I talked to, they were non-committal on what they were hearing. They were just hearing that the Lions did talk to a couple of the guys. A couple of those guys did sign somewhere else. We get it. It happens. And then, yes, I'm sure a lot of that just came down to financial considerations or maybe, hey, they like the opportunity they have with one team versus another. I think for some of the veterans that are still out there that could be impactful players, that's going to be the big thing. Can I step into this team and make an impact on that team? And B, does that team have a realistic opportunity to make a deep run to the playoffs, potentially get to the Super Bowl? So there's going to be all those factors that come into play. Okay, good morning, Dan, the Duke Crew. One Pride, back at you. Darcy, JJ Watt, question mark. I know Trumps would be happy. Yes, I think a lot of people, if what, just to throw it out there, if he did sign with Detroit Lions, said, hey, I'm coming running down the tunnel with a Lions flag flying and stuff like that, I'm going to guess most of the fan base would explode in a euphoria and excitement, but I just personally don't see that happening. Brother Ken, greetings, salutations, Coach Dan and Duke Crew from the Mile High City. Hopefully it's a great morning for you, Brother Ken, and hopefully a great day. Art MCDC really knows how to keep a press conference real. No BS, all business. That's the one thing about him for the most part. I think every fan could say whatever comes out of his mouth, that's legit. He's not holding back. He's not playing cards, whatever. He speaks from the heart. Papa, the Lions must face a difficult challenge to remain in the NFC top spot. Yes, they're going to have to win out, I think, or pretty close to it. I don't think they can lose more than one more game. String theory, in the past, the mainstream sports media in the past applauded the top teams this time of year. Today, they are trying their best to find dirt on the Lions. There is something wrong with this picture. No, string theory, and I love the call out to the string theory, by the way. I think it's just they're trying to find chinks in the armor. I think the NFL wants to find chinks in our armor. I think the NFL, it is a business at the end of the day. They want to do everything they can to make sure that it is a race through that final game of the regular season for whoever wins their division, whoever wins the conference, etc. It's just good business for them. They're going to do everything they can to try to slow down all the teams involved. Brother Ken, Kuan, and Jamal are going to be great additions to our defense. I think so, too. They bring experience and strong positive energy. Yes, I think along with Long Jr., I think those are some real nice pickups there. And if they still add somebody else, man, they may have found a way to ride out the injury storm and potentially add some real good depth to this team going forward. JDC getting real to D. Go Lions. Good morning to you, JDC. Hardy, let's see. Hardy, what do you got? Coach, how do you rank the 4 signings, and who do you think will contribute the most? Long Jr. in a heartbeat. I think just because of the decimation of the linebacker position and what you've already seen out of him. I mean, the first week he was here, I was surprised he even got a snap on the defensive side of the ball. I thought, man, good look there that they have that kind of faith in him already. What you saw out of him last week, too, on Thanksgiving, the fact he started the game. I get there's not a whole lot of guys on the depth chart that are going to be able to beat him out, but they have that kind of faith in him already. Again, hammering home a dead point here, but I think it's going to be him. As far as the signings, I'll go with him. Right now, I'll go with Alexander, and then probably Adams right after that, in my opinion. What's his name from the practice squad of the Rams? I think he'll be a rotational guy. Then you got the other Adams from Seattle, the defensive tackle. Again, rotational guy. I like them as rotational pieces. I think they add something. Plus, they should help keep the Lions what the Lions want to be on defense. Stop the run first, be bigger ends, don't give up the edge, etc. And let those linebackers then now more easily flow out to the outside, rush lanes to contain running games, etc. Let's see, Dave Montgomery. Here we go with some more breaking news stuff that's never going to happen. We're going to see Jamal Adams now. Here comes the fake news add-on. Okay, fair enough, man. If you don't like it, man, I don't know what to tell you. So you're saying that the Lions haven't talked to anybody else. Good to know, my friend. Good to know. All right, string theory. In the past, Main Street sports media applaud. Yeah, I think we got that one. Sorry, man. Oh, hold on. Let me do one thing here just so I don't have to deal with it later on. One moment, please. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that this is customized and subscribers only. Sorry, I probably forgot to do that this morning. All right, sorry about that, guys. Just greetings, sanitation, y'all. We've done a good job with the add-ons so far is what we got. If Brad adds more still, then I hope it is an end. It could be. I have no idea, man. No idea. See, Rob, greetings, salutations, Coach and Duke Crew, Coach Dan and Duke Crew. The Lions are still the grooviest, Daddy-O. I like the way you're thinking. Hardy, if you can't handle the difficult challenge, you aren't going to make it or win the Super Bowl. I would agree. You got to overcome the difficulties. This man Bear, greetings, salutations, Dana Ruski and Scooby-Doo Crew, back at you. Bill, I really like what Brad has done since the trade deadline. Za'Darius Smith is great. Yes, he's been a great find. And going back to Hardy's question, he's probably the number one addition so far. I was thinking basically past that, but if Smith would probably be number one and then Long Jr. number two, in my opinion. and the other moves have been great, are stronger than cow's breath. Fair enough. Exclamation points. Go Lions from the Philippines. Hopefully you're having a great time there, Bill, and enjoy it. Robert, let Brad Holmes cook. Always, man. You got to trust in Big Bad Brad. John King, get ready to get messed over the next 2 games. NFL is looking like the Lions are not the team they want in the Super Bowl. Maybe, man. That I don't know. But again, I do think, it's just my opinion. Have your own. The NFL's a business. They want every team in the league to basically, as far into the season as you can, have an opportunity to make the playoffs, have an opportunity to win your division, and have an opportunity to get a higher ranking seed or the number 1 seed. How about that? Let's see, Robert, greetings and salutations. Same to you. Brother Ken, what's against us? Injuries. What's for us? Time for healing, that is. I like the way you're thinking, Brother Ken. Henry Moore, good morning, Coach Dan and Duke crew. Okay, let's get ready for that Super Bowl run, and let's crush the Packers. I hope we do, man. If we can come out and just put a beat down on them, or potentially maybe the fourth quarter, we don't have to, have some sort of late moment victory or something like that. I think that'd be great. Quentin, greetings, salutations. Anyone know if we finish with 2 losses and the Eagles do, who wins that tiebreaker? I'm not 100% sure. I guess I want to say the Eagles have lost 2 NFC games. Lions have lost 1 game in the NFC. So if we were to lose another game, who would it be to? If it was an AFC team, say Buffalo Bills, that would hurt us less than what's happened to the Eagles. As far as, if we lose to the Packers or, Minnesota or whatever. I mean, really, to me, that's going to be the bigger thing because those losses will also be divisional losses. Let's see, Rob, String Theory, this is Detroit. Everyone is looking for dirt on Detroit. You're not wrong with that. Lions Talk Live fan. Refs, the secret weapon is the NFL and/or Vegas. Might be. So small. Justin Tucker is now trash. Blew that game for the Ravens. He definitely played a big factor in it. And yes, man, he's just, you talk about how fast in the NFL a player can go from all-time great to, man, it shouldn't even be in the NFL. And for him, it seems like it's been overnight. Boots Guard Blake, good morning. Duke Crew, starting lineup. Exclamation point. Who could it be now? Question mark. Who could that be knocking at my door? Yes, indeed. I knew we were going with that as soon as I read the line. Bill, Lions have a tiebreaker over the Eagles. Better divisional record. Currently, yes, currently. So let's keep it that way. Kelly Keeve, start early for me. Fair enough. I'm down with that. Art, if anyone can get these new guys ready for Thursday, it is AG. Hey, man. Think about just a year or two ago, a lot of the Lions fan base really wanted him out of town. Did not have any kind of kind words for Aaron Glenn. But, man, nowadays, I think everybody's pretty much on board with the guy. And maybe he's learned. Maybe he's improved. I think every year as a coach, you should improve, just like you should as a player. Voltron Forest, who all have we signed the last few weeks or last week? David Long Jr. would have been probably just over a week ago. But this week, man, we got the Rams practice squad player. I can't remember his name at right now. The defensive end. He got Adams from the defensive tackle from Seattle Seahawks. And then, yes, he got Jamal Adams yesterday. Maybe there's somebody else I'm missing, but that sounds right. So if anybody wants to clean that up in the comment section, again, I'm doing what I can this morning, guys, but head cold and a chest cold, it's not fun. Robert, well, I thought Minnesota earned a loss, but I guess I was wrong. They found a way to overcome it. Brother Ken, I truly hope MCDC has a stern sit-down with his players and stress the need for self-control for his young bucks, especially people know Jamal can't get emotional. Yes, I'm guessing they're all learning on the fly, and the Lions are learning from it. So my guess is they'll handle the different situations that have arisen. Pat, Minnesota will drop some of these upcoming games. Their schedule isn't easy. Philly is. Yeah, I would agree with you. I think Philadelphia has a fairly light schedule the rest of the way. There's maybe one more game I could see them struggling with. In regards to Minnesota, boy, there's definitely some games on there they could lose. All right, guys, let's go get it over to our special guest today. You guys all know him. Is Mike Hutch Jr. Let's bring him on board. Hutch Jr., how you doing this morning?
Good morning, guys. Good morning, Duke Crew.
All right, so we all got the shocking news yesterday, right around kickoff, 1 o'clock time, that Adams was added to the Detroit Lions. He picked us over a couple of different teams. We also got some confirmation later today that Lions had tried to sign some other players who simply just chose other teams. One of them went to the Philadelphia Eagles. Another one went to Cleveland Browns. And I'm sure the motivation for each of those gentlemen signing elsewhere is, down to them, whatever they were after, whether it was bigger contract. They thought maybe the Eagles had a better opportunity for them to get snaps. But now we get some news. The Lions are still trying to look to add some players. According to at least two sources, one of them is a former Pro Bowl player. If you look at who's available out there and what the Lions, I guess, potentially could still need, where do you think Brad Holmes is trying to take this team going down the stretch here?
Yeah, that's interesting. I know Lions fans on Twitter have been reaching out to Ndamukong Suh, and I actually responded, and he said, he just kind of put a little tweaker out there that he'd be interested. Does that happen? I don't know. Obviously, that's kind of one of the biggest names out there. I think that's still out there.
Who's that? Just
Ndamukong Suh.
Okay.
So there's been obviously Lions fans just reaching out to him, telling him to come home, this and that. And he actually has responded a couple times to, just being a joke. So whether it's true that he's looking to play or he's ready to come back, I don't know. And then, I know Shaq Leonard was one of those, but it sounds like Miami's not going to move off him. It sounds like they're not even going to do anything with him, which I think is dirty to do to a player. So yeah, it's really weird to see where Brad Holmes is going to go with this. Maybe there's some names that I'm not looking at on practice squads that could still be out there. But I didn't expect a Jamal Adams signing. That was, when I saw that, I was like, holy Lord, where did this come from? And like I said, there was no indication that this was even coming. Like, this was just one of those things where they must have been talking about this probably when Rodrigo went down, and then it just happened. But props to Brad Holmes. We wanted this man to sign people. We've wanted him to, go and make this team better. If this team was, if they would have made these signings in the offseason, people are probably like, okay, Brad Holmes, thanks for signing these people. The fact that he's doing it in week 13, pushing for a Super Bowl, let this man cook. I know we were, mad that he wasn't trading for anyone when Hutch went down, and, obviously went out and gets Zadarius Smith. So I think Brad Holmes is starting to see like, hey, now's the time we need to start doing these things. And he's finally doing it. But I love the Jamal Adams signing, as long as he's not in coverage. If he's playing the hybrid linebacker, playing the Sam, whatever, I'm okay with it.
I don't know if you caught it when I first got on this morning, but the Lions PR department might have kind of tipped what the brass were thinking about him playing, because initially they put out a tweet saying, hey, Lions assigned former Pro Bowl linebacker Jamal Adams to their lineup. And then maybe a minute later, they take that down and they do list him as a safety. But what do you think with the additions we've had the last few weeks with Long Jr., with Alexander, and now Adams? What do you think this does for the defense going down the stretch here?
Yeah, I think it plays right into what Aaron Glenn wants this defense to be. He wants them to be fast. He wants them to be physical. And he wants to, play with a little swagger. If you look at it, Quan Alexander came in and said he's ready to go to war for Aaron Glenn. So that's really nice to see that these guys are already bought in. Jamal Adams, I know he's had some concerns about his character in the past. So it's a really weird signing for me, because maybe, people were like, oh, this isn't really a Dan Campbell guy. But if you watch, this guy can hit, man. He can. And he can get to the quarterback. Even when he was playing safety, he made a lot of sacks. I can't remember his sack total. I think it was 20-something, close to, or that's what he's up to in his career. I don't know. But he had a nice little season. So this defense is going to still, they're going to hit their little, identity. They're going to want to be physical. They're going to want to stop the run. And then, getting Jonah Williams, I think, from the Rams, and then you got the guy from Seattle. So this is just kind of one of those things where I think they're just trying to piece it together, and then they're going to, get some of these people back. Obviously we're probably not going to get Anzalone back to the playoffs or right before. Who knows what the deal on Hutch is. He's progressing well. But, these are the guys, maybe they're auditioning to maybe stay on the team next year as well.
I did reach out to two different trainers. One of them who's worked at the professional level, one of them who's, they both have worked at the collegiate level and stuff like that, and talked to them about the Hutchinson situation. And I asked them both if they wanted to come on air, and they both said, nah, they would get in trouble for that. But both of them talking to them, they did mention at like a D1 college what Hutchinson's injury typically looks at for recovery is going to be 5 to 6 months. They did also point out at the NFL level, just because they have so many more, abilities to help somebody heal. I asked them, do you think it's possible he comes back this year? And they both said yes. Just it would be in a very situational basis, but could it be January or whatever? We'll see if it happens. And I don't want to get into that because this episode isn't really about that. But if let's get back to the guys that we do have now. When we go out against the Green Bay Packers, do you think Adams plays much? Who do you think they should have opposite Zadarius Smith at defensive end?
Yeah, I think Adams does get put on the roster just because of his veteran leadership. And then we're already thin at linebacker, so I think David Long. It'll be Camp. Obviously your linebacking core is going to be David Long, which he's came in and he's played, I think, probably great. There was a couple times in that Bear game where he shot the gap and he's in the backfield immediately. Quan Alexander, I think, will be there. And then if I was the Lions, I definitely would activate Jamal Adams. Just because he, like Dan Campbell, I mean, maybe he was joking, but he's like, yeah, maybe we'll line him up at DN. Who knows? So, a lot of the pressure right now is on Zadarius Smith. You brought this guy in to get to the quarterback. And, you can see that he's still getting home, but he needs help, obviously with this depleted line, with Pascal being out, Levi being out. Hopefully those guys are either back this week or next week. But, I would definitely get Jamal Adams. And it sounds like most of those guys were up and running. They even went through walkthroughs. I remember, I think Quan and the other guy, they were already in walkthroughs. And it sounds like Jamal Adams was going through orientation. So he didn't really get in. So maybe if he gets in these next couple of days, maybe you see 25, 30 snaps in the Green Bay game, just kind of get him acclimated, and then they'll throw him in kind of like what they did with David Long.
So let's look at it real quick, take a break from the personnel department. But when you look at the 3-horse race in the NFC, as it comes down to the final, whatever it is, 5 games for all the teams, you look at Philadelphia's schedule, it seems pretty favorable for Philadelphia. I think that would be putting it mildly. You look at Detroit's and you look at Minnesota's. If you had a Scooby do it and guess how this thing plays out in the final 5 weeks, where do you think all 3 of these teams end up?
Yeah, obviously I would love my Lions to go, obviously win out and take the number 1 seed. It's just going to be really hard. You look at this Bills game, the Bills look unbeatable. Obviously every team's beatable. Josh Allen's playing MVP type ball as well as Goff. It just sucks that a lot of your games are against NFC teams these last 5 weeks. I mean, you got to play the Bears, you got to play the Vikings, you got to play Green Bay, and then now you got the Bills. So, the Lions, they're having their best season, but they're not getting any help in that regard. They're 11-1. I mean, last year, if you think about it, we had the division locked up by Christmas. And now it's looking like we might not have the division locked up till week 18. So I'm not really worried about San Francisco. It sounds like, they're getting hit with the injury bug now. Christian McCaffrey's out the rest of the year. Sounds like a partial PCL injury.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because you look at, Lions have been, I know they've been hit with the injury bug, but they've gotten pretty lucky with some of these injuries not being long-term. Obviously Rodrigo, Hutch, these guys, but they still have 7 of 11 starters on defense with McNeil and these guys. So, it's just tough, man, because you just look at it and it's like you're just praying one of these teams lose. Arizona had the Vikings on the ropes. Vikings come back and win. You got Justin Tucker out here with the yips missing field goals. It's like, man, can the Lions just catch – like, I'm not asking for a 2 or 3 game lead. Like, I want a game would, just to be if Lions have that one-off, they have that Bears game from last year, or they have that Tampa Bay game from this year where not everything's clicking and they need, whatever. But I have faith in the group, man. I think I think Dan Campbell's got them right where they need to be. Hey, just, control our own destiny, win games, and just keep pushing.
A bunch of people in the chat here keep asking about JPP. Do you think there's any possibility the Lions try to add him? And I get I don't know, he's got to be like 35, 36. I don't know offhand, but Do you think he'd come in and help us at all?
I mean, why not? You know, what's he doing? I think he was with the Ravens, right? And he got released, or I don't even know if he's on. I don't know if he's released or on the practice squad. I know that was a name thrown around a couple of weeks ago to a bunch of teams when what was his name? Yannick. I forget to pronounce his last name, but I know he ended up going somewhere. He ended up getting signed by someone off waivers. But yeah, I mean, anybody that can come in and just fill a body, I'd be happy right now. You know, just this D line injury bug. It's like the injury curse, man. I've never seen so many injuries. You know, I'm a Michigan State fan, and this kind of reminds me of Michigan State's depleted roster every year. When you just look at the injury report, and it's just like bam, 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 and I'm just like, all right, I see this with my college team. I don't need to see it with my NFL team. I need someone to help. So, but yeah, I mean, JPP wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, he knows he's a veteran. He knows how to rush the passer.
He does.
Not going to cost you a lot. Probably can come in, pick up a playbook pretty quick, and then you just throw him out there for limited snaps.
You know, the nice thing about the veteran players that, you know, you kind of just mentioned that all of them, since they've been in the league a while, it shouldn't take them a long time to pick up what the nuances are or what's going to be asked of them. Real quick, though, and sorry, guys, about my voice and everything. I'm doing what I can here. Let's look at the Minnesota Vikings remaining schedule. You got the Falcons this upcoming weekend. I think that will be a dogfight. Then they've got the Bears, then the Seahawks, then the Packers, then the Lions. That's not an easy end of this year with those final 5 games. I could see them losing all 5. I could see them winning all 5. But what do you think with Minnesota? Let's just focus on them for a second. Do you think they can drop 1, 2, 3, 29 of those games?
Yeah, I do. I mean, obviously Lions, you probably chalk that up as an L. So, you know, we would win that one. The Bears have been playing well. They took the Lions, as we know, on Thanksgiving. I mean, they probably should have won that game, but Eberflus is not smart. And the Falcons is a weird one, man. You know, I don't know what that one's going to be like. There's probably going to be emotion there with Kirk Cousins coming back to Minnesota. Is that at Minnesota or is that at Atlanta?
Let's see. That one it's in Minnesota.
Okay, so they're probably going to have, you know, some kind of tribute to Kirk Cousins coming back. So there's going to be emotion in that game. Kirk hasn't looked great, but he can still win football games. And then the Packers, I mean, they lost the Lions, but they've won their last 4 games since the bye. So yeah, I mean, the Vikings they're 10-2 now. They could very well drop 3, if not all those games, which would be very helpful because, you know, if you're looking at the standings right now, does Detroit, if they take the number 1 seed, I think Minnesota would end up playing Philly. So that would be a interesting game.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get that number 1 seed just to force those two to face each other. That way you only have to face the winner of it. All right, so going down the stretch here, you know, I guess if they do sign somebody else, you know, we'll have to wait and see what happens. But if you personally were the GM of the Detroit Lions, you look at the Lions defense right now, in my opinion, at least, the secondary looks pretty strong. Do you think they should add yet another veteran presence to it? Or do you think you just ride with the guys you got or coming back from IR?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like we're probably going to have Carlton Davis back. You know, obviously, so there's that. Terrion, I thought, played an amazing game on Thanksgiving. So to see him. And then obviously you got Mosley just sounded like he had something pop up in the pregame, nothing too concerning. And then, you know, I thought Dorsey came in and played well. Obviously, yeah, I would love to have maybe Patrick Peterson or someone like that just on the bench, you know, just to say, hey, look, we just need your veteran leadership just in case someone goes down. Because, I mean, who knows what, you know, I pray nothing happens to Mosley. But, you know, that always scares me. He hasn't really seen football action in 2 years.
Right.
So I don't think you can ever have enough bodies on the secondary, especially with Rakestraw going down and these guys. But I was pretty pleased that Vildor came back and played well. I was pretty pleased about Dorsey. But, you know, you always got that flashback in the NFC Championship game, and then Vildor didn't look great against the Colts. So, yeah, I don't know how many more people that they're going to be able to keep when all of our players come back is going to be the big thing. But, yeah, no, I mean, I think they should just call on a bunch of people and see, hey, are you interested in coming to Detroit? We can keep you, you know, for a couple of weeks and maybe into the playoffs. If you want this ring, we get it, you know. So, no, I would if I'm Brett Holmes, I'm calling a few more people just to make sure that we got enough bodies in case of injuries and you have them there, and even get them signed maybe, because you never know what's going to happen in the game. So if you can get them signed and get them in, get them acclimated, and then you have them on the roster, you just play them. So.
All right. As far as, I would think at this point with the linebacker situation, especially since it's my guess Jamal Adams plays linebacker for us, a hybrid linebacker spot. Do you think we're good at that spot then across the board? Because you're assuming that, Alex Anzalone is going to be back in about 3 more weeks, roughly thereabouts. You're going to have him. You're going to have, Long Jr., Alexander, obviously Captain Jack Campbell. Do you think we need to still look at that position, or we're good there going into the home stretch in the playoffs?
Surprisingly, I think we're good. Obviously getting David Long, now Jamal Adams, I think you're right. I think he's going to play that hybrid linebacker. I don't think they plan on playing him on the secondary corner, safety, anything like that. I think Kirby and Branch got that locked down. But yeah, with Campbell, Nowotski, Neiman, David Long, Quan Alexander, and now Jamal Adams. I mean, you got veteran leadership there now. You got guys that, can come in and play what you guys need. It's just one of the biggest mysteries in the season was like, man, our linebacking core was so thin, now is almost pretty full. And it's from just picking people up during the season. So give Brett Holmes credit, man. I didn't expect a lot of signings after we went down. I was like, man, we're getting thin. And then he just, bam, it was just one right after another. And I think this is 3 days in a row that he signed somebody. So let's see if he makes it 4, because he's just been hitting the waiver wire and just getting people off practice squads and stuff like that. So give him credit. I'm actually thrilled that Brad Holmes is cooking. So.
All right. Well, Hutch Jr., I want to thank you for coming on. As always, why don't you go ahead and give yourself a shout out to everybody where they can find your great work and keep up with you.
Yeah, you can find me on here, guys. Obviously, Dan, thanks for having me on. You can find me on Twitter, the only Hutch Jr. You can find me on Catch My Vibe Radio, cmvradio.com. You can find me on there, podcasts and all. And then obviously just odd and end different content creators. They have me on as well. So appreciate you guys. You guys are amazing, and shout out to the Do Crew.
All right. We'll catch you on the next one. And thanks, man, for coming on early this morning. I know I had to reach out to you unexpected and say, hey, would you make some time? But thanks for making some time. Man.
Yeah, anytime.
All right. We'll catch you on the next one.
See it.
All right, guys, let's get back over to the comments section. Rob, Captain Jack and Jolly George, quote, was an old George Carlin and Jack Burns routine. Okay, we'll go with that. Keith, it's going to be really on our coaching staff, and now can they out-scheme our opponents? Agreed. They've got some nice new weapons and toys to play with. I think a lot of these guys are going to come in and make some good fits. Could they still add somebody else? I know the big word around is perhaps somebody like a Ndamukong Suh coming back to Detroit. I get he's made some social media comments about it to some degree. Could it be? The only thing I could say, guys, is wait and see. I don't think if I would have came on air yesterday morning and said, hey, the Lions are trying to sign Jamal Adams, everybody would have thrown shade at me and said, man, this is, clickbait or whatever. Obviously, nothing could have been further from the truth. And again, you've got the Lions and different representations, agents for different players saying, yeah, the Lions were in conversations to sign this guy or that guy. They just went on and signed with different respective teams for whatever reasons they may have signed. So I also did see in the comment section a couple of you guys asking about Hutch. Yes, there is video out there. You could see him at Thanksgiving where he did walk around unassisted. You can see there's still a little hitch in his giddy up where, he's got a little bit of a limp. But to me, the key factor in talking with both of the trainers that I reached out to, if you remember just less than 2 weeks prior to that, he was at 100% water level in the aqua tub. So what does that mean? The water level is up all the way to his chin, or basically about his chin. So they've taken all the weight they can off of his body so he doesn't have to support it. He's as close to weightless in that pool as could be. But also, video came out just before Thanksgiving. He's now down to roughly 65%, so just below his chest. So he's putting significantly more weight and in a hurry on that leg. So it's healing up pretty nice. I'm not going to say he's going to return this year. I'm not going to say he's not going to return. I don't know. All I'm going to worry about is just focusing on what we can see and what we can make out of that. Will he return? I guess we'll wait and see. He's going to return at some point, whether or not it's this year or next year. That's the big question. All right, let's get back to the comment section. I apparently lost my spot, so sorry, guys. Phil, good morning. Back at you. Uncle Buzz, how about Manu at fullback on the goal line? That's not a bad idea. As long as you're not giving him the ball and just asking him to create a hole. He is a massive human being. I think we all appreciate that. And he is pretty dang athletic. Brother Ken, good morning. Phil, back at you both. Mega Hustle, it's unfortunate, but Lions have to run up the scoreboard to take the game out of the ref's hands. You're not wrong, man. And people can hate you when you do it, but I've had a long-standing rule as a coach. You play your butt off until there are zeros on that clock. Why? Don't leave an opportunity for someone to make an issue out of it. I don't. Gosh, I hate talking about the past, but there was one game in the past that always comes to mind, at least in the last year. Team I was coaching had 8-point lead, like 4 minutes to go. Maybe it was 2.5 minutes to go, whatever it was. And it's unfortunate. There was a string of about 3 or 4 odd calls, bad calls, whatever you want to call it, in about a 32-second span that took us from being up 6 to 8 points to now being down 2 points in that span, because you leave it up to the officials. They're as human being as ever. And I'm not going after officials when I say it, but you leave the chance that 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 straight calls go against you and now completely change the game. So you control your own fate. And I like exactly what you're saying, Mugga Hustle. Do what you can to make sure that it isn't an issue. Somebody's going to interpret a rule differently than your interpretation. Make sure it doesn't affect the game. Ryan, take some home remedies and get some rest. We appreciate you. Hey, I'm doing what I can, man. I'm going to drink some water, maybe avoid the gym. I don't want to get anybody else sick, so I'll just have to work out at home today. Phil, Brother Ken, God bless you. 100%. JDC, come on, man. Sue, put your best foot forward and come on back. If you had to put me on the witness stand and say, who's it going to be? Who is it that they're talking about? I think personally it's Ndamukong Suh, because it would fit from a lot of different standpoints. One, is he versatile enough to play defensive tackle and end? Yes. Does he have the body mass index that the Lions coaching staff are looking for? Also, yes. I also get when Ndamukong Suh was here in Detroit, he was a lot younger and, maybe had some heated moments out there where he did some kind of boneheaded things like stepping on a player or stomping on a Green Bay player. But to be honest, since he's left Detroit, you really haven't seen that anymore. I think he's matured beyond it. Could it be that they bring him in? Possible. Is he got enough gas left in the tank to help? That I don't know. I haven't really followed him in recent years. Keith, good morning, Coach Dan, and go Lions from Louisiana. Hopefully you're having a great one, Keith, and hopefully it's a great morning. JK, Four Locos Warhead flavor do. I like the idea of that. String Theory Lions need to get back to playing without too many missteps, and all will be good. Yeah, I think really, if you can just hold the line and only lose, and I want them to win out. But if you can, at worst case scenario, only lose one more game, then I think you're probably going to get the number 1 seed, and you'll definitely get the NFC North. Phil, Sue in shape, doubt it. That I don't know. Or maybe Chris Spielman should step out of his office and take a few steps. Just kidding. But he was good back in the day. He was phenomenal back in the day. And watching what he did to his body, the injuries he would play through, nowadays you just never see that in the NFL. Doug, more worried about Hutch's long-term success with the 2025-26 team. I get it when people say that, but I would also say this. Do you think there's any chance the organization, the medical staff, or Hutchinson Jr. would step on the field if people didn't say, hey, you're fine to play? At some point, we got to trust if he steps back on the field that all the experts, the medical people have said, yes, he's okay. Now, if he comes out and breaks an arm, that's part of playing the NFL. You can, heck, look at, Emmanuel Mosley. You can have the entire medical world say you're good to go out there and get 2 snaps and blow out on our ACL. So it's just part of sports, let alone the NFL. Verbal Kent, yes, sir. Exclamation point. Run it up, Detroit. I agree with that. Rob, in rugby or soccer, you play until you hear that final whistle. Dip. Yeah, 100. I agree with that. Jennifer, has anyone reached out to Matthew Betts? I don't know. That's a good question. I know a lot of you guys have asked about him. It's just, since we haven't seen him here, that probably tells you that the Lions are interested in signing him. JDC, Phil, stand toe with him. Then let me know if he's in shape. Fair enough. Let's see, Brandon Sue putting his bet foot forward, laughing out loud. Woo! I see what you did there. Let's see. Oops. Kurt Steele, see you guys at 8. JDC and oh boy, the Cheddar sure hate Sue. Yes, they do. Although that is kind of a long time ago, but I'm sure somebody there remembers it. JDC, happy trails, go Lions victory. Doug, CD3, what's the word on our number 1 cornerback? As far as I know, he's trending towards playing. The fact that, we'll get some official reports today, but I'm guessing he probably plays this week. So we'll have to all pay attention to that because with him out there, this defense is pretty dang good. All right, guys, my voice is shot. I can feel it in my chest. Get some rest and some Theraflu flavored dew. I might do just that, Robin. Thank you for that. If there is some breaking news today, I'll get it over to you as quick as possible. Otherwise, if you would be so kind before you check on out and head on over to whatever you do the rest of your day, hit that thumbs up button. There's over 900 people watching on all social media platforms. If you can help out with that, also, if you've been so kind, if you haven't yet subscribed, please consider doing so. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Do something kind for someone you don't know. Be a good human being. See you guys all in the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.
Excuse me, sir, would you... Donations to the Reverend Moon? Jews for Jesus? Read about Jehovah's Witness? How about Buddhism? Help Jerry's kids? Oh, yeah. Scientology? Or nuclear power?